strange thing, but it was like you either manned up or you sort of suffered.
Getting grilled at school and this and that, you do need people around you.
And I just walked straight to the changing rooms, cried my eyes out, because I knew there was no coming back.
Football. 11v11 on the field. Watched by thousands around the world week in, week out. Fans love these individuals for what they produce on the pitch. But what about off it? What about when these individuals aren't on social media? For some people, it's easy to forget that these footballers are humans too. The beautiful game can have an ugly side. Bramall Lane in Yorkshire, a melting pot of emotion and home of Sheffield United. Walking on the pitch with 30,000 fans singing this song is enough for goosebumps. Tom Cowan, the former pro footballer, did exactly that, as well as playing for the likes of Huddersfield Town and Stoke City in the 90s. He spoke on his experiences of playing football in the 90s and how mental health was regarded back in his playing days. How was mental health treated back then when you played, if there was any attention drawn to it at all?
I think it was non-existent, really. There was no mention of it. I think it was you either lived or died. Really, if there was managers shouting and screaming at you, you couldn't turn around and say you're really upset with you, because you would just get shouted at even harder. It was just basically a strange thing, but it was like you either manned up or you sort of suffered.
The Guardian reported in 2019 that 653 people accessed the Professional Footballers Association's counselling services, almost quadruple the amount of people that used it in 2016. Mental health is a less taboo subject today, with multiple schemes and campaigns in place by the PFA to help out with mental health. But why is it so rare to see footballers talking openly about this? Is there still a stigma around players talking about their mental health? And if so, what is affecting this? 1 in 4 people will experience depression in any year. Although not talked about as much, education was not as present as it is now, but mental health issues definitely existed. Suffering in silence must have been common, but with no stats recorded on mental health issues, did we see the signs back then?
I had quite a hard set mindset with football that you were going to get abuse from fans no matter what. Now, whether you pleased them or you didn't, you were always going to get abused. So it didn't bother me. It was like water off a duck's back to me. I could take it, and I can imagine that some other players that couldn't. But at that time, there wasn't a lot of players that voiced their mental health issues, and I would say they probably covered them up a lot more than talking about it. The good thing about back then, though, we didn't have social media, so you know what I mean. There wasn't that kind of thing where you would get abused on social media or anything like that, whereas that's a big thing these days.
Down in the county of Dorset is Bournemouth. Away from the noise of the football stadiums, the seaside town does home a football team who have climbed through the years. I spoke to one of AFC Bournemouth's youth team players and Guyana international Nathan Mariah Welch. Despite settling on the south coast, Nathan has been released by 3 football clubs before landing in Bournemouth, including Chelsea and Brentford before the age of 13. Obviously, you've been released from Chelsea and Brentford. Did any of them get to you, like on a personal level? Did any of them affect you? I know you was a young age, but how did they affect you, if they did at all?
The one when I got released from Chelsea, nah. But Brentford, because I was with a school with like all of them lot, so there was like 5 of us in the year, and we was all going to school at the same place. So then obviously the other 4 stayed, but I got released. So then I was getting grilled at school and this and that. So then it didn't. I wouldn't say it like had an effect, but just like in the back of your head, you're just knowing that people are talking about you.
Yeah.
You've just been released when you're meant to be one of the best in the school.
Despite being so young and unknown to the situation, Nathan got older and admitted he was not as affected as some footballers are. Unfortunately, that is not the case for others. Jeremy Winston, a former 18-year-old Manchester City youth player, tragically took his own life in November 2020. Man City were asked to provide proof of support as part of an inquest. Following Jeremy's death, there were calls for released footballers to be treated like army veterans in regards to mental health support.
At different ages, I think, because he was like, I think under 18s or under 16s.
Yeah.
You need more support at that age because it's like you either choose to go into work or you go into football.
Yeah.
But at younger ages, there's more support because you're younger and you've probably got more family around you. At like age 16, 18, he would have probably been at digs maybe when he heard news, and he's around guys that just got a pro contract or whatever. So that he's thinking like, what's going to happen next? I have to go into non-league with another club take me. So I think I've noticed a lot more helping, but there can still be a lot more.
The highs and lows of football come in different ways. The fans, the on-field drama, but most importantly, the life of a footballer. Having a rollercoaster career like no other, Joey Keaveney, former Leicester City Academy product, had a massive future ahead of him. But a series of knee injuries set him back before he was released by Leicester City.
Before my release at Leicester, I was contracted for 3.5 years without playing a single minute of football. Obviously, I think whilst at Leicester, there was 5 operations I had to undergo. And there was stages, especially when I got to about 18 years old, where, head physio at the club was telling me to pack it in for my health. And because the chances of me getting anywhere in football after that were so slim. As a 16-year-old, I trained with the first team the year we won the Premier League. I'd called up for Hungary. I'd been called up for the Republic of Ireland. Every kind of lifelong dream I'd had to that point was getting ticked off. And to go from the heights of that to then being kind of the lad sat in the corner of the dressing rooms who day by day was losing the respect of his peers because he wasn't out on the pitch, that is very difficult to take.
Following this low point in his life, he later got back at it. He was given a lifeline where he signed for AEK Larnaca in the Cypriot First Division. Coming off the bench on his debut for the club, Joey scored a 90th minute header to give his new club the win.
For 10 minutes to go, I've been brought on, and in my head, I was just thinking, like the whole time, I felt it was almost written that I was going to make a mark on the game somehow. And I had a couple of chances before the header that I scored. One of them was called out offside incorrectly. I actually made a really good run, stayed onside. And then, I was looking at the clock. I think it was 93rd minute. I was thinking, it's the big achievement being on that pitch regardless. And then the ball's come in and I've scored a header I'd probably never be able to score again, given 1,000 chances. And just the kind of feeling I had then, the euphoria was immense. Like, not something I can really describe or put into words, but I remember absolutely everything of that day vividly clear.
Joey had a temporary move to a club he admired a lot growing up, Derry City, but unfortunately, despite digging deep, his knee issues caught up. Joey was forced to retire from football at the young age of 21.
We were playing against Bohemians at their ground, and I'll send you the photo. I'd actually took sock tape and I'd wrapped it around my patella so tight that you could see all the veins in my thigh and just underneath my knee were popping out. And I'd made it so tight because I was just trying to suppress the pain and give myself 10 minutes into that game. I could barely walk on it. I made the signal to the manager to take me off, and I just walked straight to the changing rooms, cried my eyes out because I knew there was no coming back.
There are so many different factors affecting a footballer's mental health, whether it be injury, fan abuse, or things outside of the game. But just how did the FA deal with things like this? The PFA have plenty of schemes and things like that, but looking at the FA's mental health page, there are just a few things. I wasn't able to get a response from an FA mental representative, but so the players think governing bodies could do more from the likes of the FA.
I think the FA could do more. The PFA are well advertised about how well the schemes that they've got in place. And I think the FA could take a look at how they're handling stuff.
Regards to the FA, I'm not too sure what they do, whether it's oversee it or strategize, or I'm not sure. But I think the resources are there for players, but there's a lot of players, and I'm positive that more could be done.
Although the general consensus is the governing bodies could do more, just how did all of these players feel clubs have handled mental health issues?
Before COVID, I used to have workshops about mental health and how to deal with it, because I think it's a company called If You Care Share. His like the guy that owns it, his brother died from, I think, suicide or something like that. So he started to like push on it more. But I think there could still be a lot more to be done. At Bournemouth, we do have a psychologist that talks to us about anything, like if you're going through an injury or if you're going through this and that. But I think Bournemouth's a good club for that. But
yeah, I was really, really struggling, and I think without the support that was provided to me by the club at the time, with the welfare officer Dale Bradshaw, I think without her and kind of just somebody asking how I am, anytime I was around the building, I don't know which way it could have went.
It's clear to see society has taken massive steps since Tom Cowan's day in tackling mental health, and he himself summed it up brilliantly.
So I think we can always do better, can't we? We can always do better. It's like the government during the pandemic. They were rubbish, and then they've done a little bit better. You can always do a lot better.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like we can always do better.
Yeah, exactly.
Mental health awareness in general is on the rise, but it seems like despite moving forwards, the footballing world is still a little behind. People should never be afraid to talk to a teammate, a member of staff, or address issues to the fans. But with more and more footballers talking out on their struggles, there is light at the end of what seems to be a very dark era within our beautiful game. If you have been affected by anything in this documentary, or are struggling with mental health issues yourself, call Samaritans on 116 123. That's 116 123.